Today's date is June 21st, 2024. I am interviewing Michael Zeger. My name is Karen Levine. We're in Randolph, New Jersey, USA, and the language is English. Can you say your name and spell it, please?
My name is Michael Zeger. Zeger, Z-E-I-G-E-R.
And when were you born, Michael?
I was born October 5th, 1931.
Where were you born?
I was born in Zborov. At that time, when I was born, it was Poland.
What is it now?
Now it's Ukraine.
Do you know what province it was in Ukraine or in Poland?
I'm not too sure.
Okay. And what was your name at birth? What were you called at birth?
Well, in Poland, they called me Munjo, Mundek, Munjo. And they also called me Bombak. Bombak because I was 3 years old and I was heavy, fat. And I moved like a bomb, so they called me Bombak.
I'm sure you're glad that didn't stick. What were your parents' names? What was your mother's name first?
My mother's name was Sonia Zeger.
And do you know when she was born?
Yes. She was born February 5th, I think. Sonia. Yeah. February 1905.
And she died in 1997, is that correct?
She died in 1905. Yeah.
And what was your father's name?
My father's name was Irving Zeger.
What did they call him in Poland? What did they call him? What was his
Irving.
Irving?
Yes.
And he was born in 1900.
Right.
And when did he die?
He died 1970.
And did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes. I have a brother.
What was your brother's name?
My brother's name is Shelley Zeger.
And what was he called when he was in Poland? What?
In Poland, he was called Milek.
Milik?
Milek Zeger, yeah.
Now, has he passed? When did he die?
2013.
Yeah. Was he younger or older than you?
Younger.
Younger. When you were growing up before the Holocaust, was your family very religious?
We were not very religious, but we were observant.
Did you go to temple, your father?
Yes.
Did you keep kosher in the house?
We had kosher in the house, yes.
And was there a strong belief in God? They believed in God.
Absolutely, yeah. Strong believers. Very strong believers in God, yes.
Both of your parents?
Both parents.
What was your family life like? What kind of house did you live in? And
Zborov was a small town, but there were two people that had cars. My father had one, and then somebody else, very wealthy, who had another one. And yes, we were very well substantial. As a matter of fact, I was lactose intolerant. I couldn't digest the milk. My father bought me a goat. Have the goat, so I can have goat milk every day.
What did your father do for a living? What was his trade or profession?
My mother didn't work. She took care. But my father and my uncle and the Polish general had a corporation, all of us. And my father was one of the owners,
Of the corporation.
of the corporation.
Right. So what else do you remember about growing up? Did you have many friends?
I had friends, yes. Most of my friends were not Jewish.
Were there many Jewish kids in the town?
There were some. There were a lot, actually.
But most of your friends weren't Jewish.
Pardon?
You said most of your friends were not Jewish.
No, for some reason, in my class, when I say class, I was 5 years old. My friends happened to be non-Jewish.
And
The little girls, nice blonde hair. Very nice.
do you remember a favorite meal growing up that your mother would make?
Yeah. Pierogi.
Oh,
I like the pierogi. Two different styles. One potato and onions, and one blueberries for dessert.
that sounds good. Yeah. And do you remember, how did you celebrate holidays? Do you remember celebrating Passover?
We always celebrated Passover.
Did you do that with,
What I remember.
did you do that with any aunts or uncles or cousins? Or just your family?
Well, we meet with our cousins on different occasions. But most of the things was local. My family, the synagogue.
Did your cousins live near you? Where did your cousins live? Did they live far away?
Yes. One of my cousins lived in Lviv, Lemberg, and the other cousin lived in Tarnopol. Tarnopol, Lviv, we were right in the middle.
How old were you when the Germans first came to Poland, to your area of Poland?
31, 10 years old.
10 years old. And what do you remember about that?
I remember that when they found out that we were Jew, when the Nazis found out that we were Jewish, within 24 hours they came in, they took most of our things, and they told us to move out.
So you were forced out of your house.
We had to leave everything. We became poor overnight.
And where did you go?
Someplace I don't even remember,
You don't remember, right?
but not the same place I had before.
Was your father arrested or taken
Was it?
away? Was your father taken away by the Germans?
Yes. My father and 500 Jewish men were taken to clean the tanks, the trucks, and to do all the work. My father was one of them. And my father overheard they were talking amongst themselves, the Germans, that after they finished working, they're going to be executed. My father understood German very well. So what happened is, at the end of the day, my father was hiding under a truck.
So that they didn't take him.
They didn't take him, no. They didn't know.
So
Next morning, all the 500 people were shot in a mass grave. And it's still there in Zborov. Myself and my brother, we created a big monument and told a little story what happened.
at that spot. Now, your father then, when he came back to where you were living, where did you go?
My father, well, what happened, Anton came to my parents and said,
Now, who was Anton?
Anton was a neighbor. He came to my parents and said, look, I want to help you. I want to save you because you're going to be taken to a ghetto. And from there, you're going to go to concentration camp. And that's going to be the end.
Can you tell us about Anton?
Pardon?
Can you tell us a little about Anton?
Oh, I have so much to tell about Anton.
What was his last name? Anton.
Anton. Anton was a poor man, but my mother helped him a lot. He was considered as a little bit Meshuggah, you know.
Mm-hmm. Why did they consider him crazy?
Because he was meditating. He was a vegetarian. And he was jogging. At that time, that was very unpopular. He was also talking to the sun and to the moon. He was talking to his flowers. He was doing some not normal things, not normal considered at that time, normal things. So
he was kind to animals, right? And bugs and flies. He was kind to the flies even, right?
Yeah. What he did, in the summertime, it's hot. There's no air conditioning there, but there were a lot of flies. What he did, he took a pot of water, put some sugar in it, put some straws right across the pot, and put it out in front of his house, invited all the flies. So flies from every region were coming in, flying. Everyone was running to Anton, the party in Anton's house. Just imagine a lot of flies in the water, sugar water.
Now, how did your family know Anton?
They were just neighbors.
Yeah. And why do you think he volunteered to help your family?
Because my mother helped them a lot. For giving food, clothing, and most of all, she respected him. Where the whole town considered him as a idiot.
Now, when he offered to help you, where did he hide you? Did you go to his house or what happened?
Well, I need a drink of water.
Okay.
So, my parents tried to, they tried to escape together. And one middle of the night, they woke me up. I was looking for my shoes. I couldn't find my shoes. I went out barefoot. It was snowing. So did my brother. We ran out of the ghetto. My father bribed some of the guards, some of the Ukrainian guards, and he let us out. And my father thought he would be able to get some of his people, some of his friends, to take care of him. Well, we were knocking on the door every night, in the middle of the night. Nobody won. They told him, go away. Don't bother us. My mother said to my father, you know, I had a dream the other day about my mother, my grandmother, and she told me to go to Anton. Since nobody wants us here now, let's go to Anton. My father wasn't too sure, but there was no choice. There's no place to go. They went to Anton. Anton opened the door, started hugging everybody, kissing, and telling us how much he loves us and how he's going to fight for us. He's going to hide us. Nobody's going to hurt us. He's going to take care of us.
Do you think he was scared? I mean, wasn't it dangerous to hide Jews?
He was sure of himself. That's Anton. He was different. He talked to people. They're not really people. He has all kinds of dreams. He was a mystic.
And how did he hide you?
Well, the neighbors knew that Anton is hiding us. And at that time, the Germans did send out a message to all the Ukrainians that anytime they find Jews dead or alive, they get compensated a lot of money. So they gave the neighbors and Anton's neighbors, they were looking for some money. And they knew that Anton is hiding us. So he was hiding us in the attic for a while. And then my father and Anton, every night, used to, excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So my father and Anton were digging a bunker in the cellar, a root cellar. The bunker, they had to dig with spoons, with knives.
There were no shovels.
No shovel. They didn't want the neighbors to see any of it. In the middle of the night, they went out. They took the dirt and they spread it out far away from the bunker, so there'll be no signs that something's going on here. And they built a bunker 4 feet high, 12 feet wide, and 6 feet long. 4 feet wide. I couldn't even stand up.
How long did it take them to dig it? Do you know?
A few weeks. Every night they were digging.
And when did you go into the bunker?
We go into the bunker, I think this, June 24th, I think.
June 23rd, 1943.
The 23rd.
Almost 81 years ago in 2 days.
Pardon?
81 years ago.
81.
Now, who went into the bunker? You, your parents, your brother? Was there anyone else in the bunker with you?
It's my father, my mother, Shelley, my brother, and myself.
Was there anyone else who came into the bunker with you?
There were 2 orphan girls that my parents knew about. We took them in with us. One was 16 years old and one was 22 years old.
So there were 6 of you. There were 6 of you in this bunker.
6,
And
3 in the bunker. 3 people on one side, 3 people on the other side. Like this. Like a deck of cards.
and how long did you stay in the bunker?
We were liberated on the 24th or the 25th. I think the 24th.
A year later. A year in 1944, right?
Right.
So you were there a year. What was...
And we came out of the bunker. We could hardly see. We couldn't talk because of vocal cords. We only talked whispering when we were in the bunker.
When you were in the bunker, did you come out at all in that whole time, or were you there every day and every night?
No. We wouldn't dare because the Germans were retreating and the Soviets were aggressing. So the Germans created a little setting in the root cellar. We were right underneath the root cellar. And
So you could hear them.
we could hear them talk, curse, laugh, eat, salami, had such a nice smell, chocolate they were eating, and we were starving. Anton couldn't see us for a whole week. We didn't have any food. We didn't have any water.
And I guess when Anton could get there, he would bring you food and water?
He couldn't because they took him away.
The Germans took him away?
Yeah.
For how long?
For some reason, he came back. I think he was away at a time when we were in the bunker. But in the bunker, one German soldier was cleaning his gun, and one of his bullets came down the straw into the bunker, landed in front of my foot, because I was stationed right underneath the opening. So the bullet landed right in front of my foot. My mother put something in my mouth. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk. But the soldier was looking for the bullet. He was poking with a bayonet, looking, where's the bullet? And he saw some straw. And he was ready to look under the straw. Suddenly, the officer said, let's get out of here right now. Leave everything. Out we go. He left it and it ran out. We would have been killed. We were that far away.
Now, life in the bunker must have been very difficult. Cold? Was it cold? Was it hot? What was life like in the bunker?
In the bunker?
In the bunker.
We had the rags, dirty rags, and one, I don't know if it was morning or evening, we woke up and everybody was itching. We looked and we see a lot of insects, flies, and lice. And we were scratching all over. My brother and I, we had nothing to do. We had a contest. Who's going to kill more lice? And we were killing the lice and the insects. Wasn't very appetizing.
How did you learn that the war was over?
We heard it when we were in the bunker. We heard everything, what's going up there. The last week, only thing we heard is a lot of shooting and screaming and yelling and shooting and screaming and yelling for a whole week. So we thought that they invaded us. But meanwhile, we had no food, no water for 6 days.
So
The 7th day was quiet. They didn't know what happened. Since I was right underneath the opening, I said, and I was already 11 years old. I was older. I said, let me get up and see what's happening. My mother was afraid. My father said, no, I'll go up. I said, no, you can't. My father was a big man. Well, I went up. I said, nothing. I hear nothing. So I came down to bunker again. I said, I don't know. Nobody's here. I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody. No Germans, no Ukrainians, nobody. a few hours later, Anton opened the hedge. He said, "Come out, you're free."
You must have been very
That
excited,
was
very happy.
very, very, very happy. Till this day, I still remember that, and I always will remember that. Come out, you're happy.
You said that you could barely see when you came out. And what kind of condition were you all in?
Oh, we couldn't walk. We were swollen. We couldn't move. We were crawling. We were swollen. My eyes were swollen. We could only see a shadow. In bad shape. The Soviet, at that time was Soviet Union, was not Russia. The Soviets liberated us. I should have had some vodka, would have been easier. The Soviets could not believe. There were tears in their eyes, and they were crossing themselves. To see people, we were like animals.
Where did you go from there?
They took us to the hospital in Zborov. A hospital was not a hospital, was just a place. And we were notified 8 days later that the bunker collapsed. Had we been there another 8 days, we would have been buried alive.
How long were you in the hospital in Zborov?
6 months.
And by the time you were you all there, all 6 of you, including the 2 orphaned girls?
The what?
The 2 girls who were hiding with you, were you were all in the hospital?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were with us. The younger one, well, I'll tell you, after we recouped a little bit at the hospital, we went to Poland. We wanted to get away.
Where in Poland did you go?
Krakow.
Oh, Krakow. Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you there?
About 1.5 years.
And how about Anton? Did he stay in Zborov?
We asked Anton to come with us. He said, "No. I can be and I can die where I was born. I don't want to be anywhere." So my parents said, "Okay, we will send you food packages." And we did.
You were in Krakow for 1.5 years, and then where did you go from Krakow?
After Krakow?
Yes.
After Krakow, we went to West Germany, to the DP camp.
Do you know where in West Germany it was?
Yes. Not far from München. Gabaursee. Gabaursee was the place. And from Gabaursee was Ottel. That's where we were. But Gabaursee was the area. Not too many people knew about Ottel.
Right.
Ottel. Ottel.
How long were you in the DP camp?
We were there until 1950. What, 3 years?
Yeah. And then did you come to the United States at that point?
Yeah, well, we were supposed to go to Israel. And we packed whatever we had. We packed to go to Israel. What happened at that time, they wouldn't let anybody into Israel. The British wouldn't let anybody in. So my mother tried to get a hold of my aunt Celia, and told her what we doing and how we would like to some help. And Celia and my uncle, they issued documents legally, brought us over as guests.
Now, did the two girls go with you that were?
No.
Where did they go?
Eva, the oldest one, got in touch with her boyfriend who was in Argentina. Not in Argentina, in Uruguay. And so we made sure that we got her, prepared to go to Uruguay. This man waited quite a few years. They were engaged while they were still in the ghetto. So he was waiting a long time.
And the other sister? Where did the other sister go?
No, I didn't have a sister.
No, the two orphan girls. One of them went to Uruguay. How about the other one?
Oh, the other one we helped her stayed in Krakow. When they let the people into Israel, we let her in. Only certain people, young people, they let in Israel.
Now, when you got out of the bunker and everything, you had nothing. How did you manage?
It wasn't easy, but it was great. As Barb, when we got out of the bunker, we could have normal meals, because when we were in the bunker, we were surviving on raw potatoes, beets, some stale bread occasionally, and water was rationed.
So when you got out, you wanted to eat a lot of different foods, I'm sure. You wanted to eat all the different foods when you got out.
Yeah, I mean, we had a picnic. You had eggs. You had cooked food. I mean.
Do you remember what you enjoyed most when you got out? What food you enjoyed the most?
Eggs. I loved eggs. I used to eat 4-6 eggs every day. I'm still fighting my cholesterol.
When did you get to the United States?
United States, 1949, Christmas.
And what was your first impression of the United States?
I thought it was a dream. The lights were on, it was Christmas time. And they were singing Christmas carols, and the pictures was like a dream. It was wonderful.
Now, you lived with your aunt, I guess, at first?
I stayed with my aunt.
Where did she live?
On Broadway in Newark.
Newark, New Jersey.
Newark at that time was a very vibrant town, city.
Did you go to school?
Yes. I didn't want to go to school. I said, I want to go work. I want to work, make money, and I want to live like, be rich like the Americans are. So,
How long did you go to school for?
so wait a minute, I worked for a year and a half, and I couldn't take it. So my aunt said to me, you have to go to school. Now I didn't go to school in Zborov. I didn't go to school in the DP camp, except they taught us English and Hebrew, songs. So my aunt told me, well, you should go to school because you're not going to be doing too well here. So how do I go to school? To high school, I was already 13, 14. So I took a course in the evening, an algebra course. I need math. And I had a teacher, Mr. Sasanti. He was my history teacher. He taught me history. He prepped me before. So I learned enough to get into high school. Being in high school, I graduated high school, and I got a scholarship, 4-year scholarship at Uppsala College.
In East Orange.
East Orange.
And you went there for 4 years?
4 years, graduated. I have my diploma if you want to see it.
What was your degree in?
Liberal arts and economics.
And then where did you go there? Then, where did you work?
Well, I worked for about 6 months, maybe 8 months. Had a good time. I got drafted. In 1956 was the only time in the United States that they were drafting kids to the Navy. They only drafted 5,000 kids. I was one of them.
You were one of them. So you were drafted into the Navy. What did you do in the Navy?
First I had training, you know. Excuse me, I just have to.
You want to take a break?
Well, anyway, the Navy, I had boot camp. Boot camp means when you train, you prepare for war. After boot camp, I was traveling with the Navy, with the Admiral. The Admiral was, I don't know if you know the ranks of the Admiral is like a general. A general in the Army is an Admiral in the Navy. He was not a full Admiral, he was a rear Admiral. He was supposed to become an Admiral later. Well, anyway, this Admiral took a liking to me. I liked him. I was his gopher. You know, I was a young kid, 21 years old. And I was traveling all over the Mediterranean, Italy, France, Turkey, Sicily. I had the best time of my life. It was great. I had some privileges, although I didn't need any. With the Admiral, he was a wine buff. He loved the wines. So I had to learn about wines because wherever he went, I had to go with him. I was his gopher. So he went to wine tastings, I went to wine tastings. I had to taste the wine. First one I tasted, I spit out. I never knew about wine. Anyway, I learned about wine from the Admiral, and when I came out of the Navy, I opened up with my brother and my father. We opened up a wine distributorship, wine importer. And we were importing wines from all over and selling all over in the United States.
And what was the name of this business? What did you name the business?
Admiral.
After that man.
Called the name Admiral.
Now, when you came to the United States, did you stay in touch with Anton?
That's what?
Did you stay in touch? Did you write letters and send things to Anton?
Yes. My mother used to, from 1959 to 1969, my mother was sending packages, food, some clothing. And the deal was with Anton, before he left, that every time he receives a package, he didn't know how to write. He was illiterate. But his next door neighbor is gonna respond to the letter, and Anton is going to draw a flower that nobody could copy that. So for the first few packages, we got the flower, and then it stopped. It stopped for a few years. So we tried to look for it. Well, we knew that he was a sickly guy, but we thought maybe he died. In 1988, I think it is, my brother met somebody, my brother Shelley, met somebody that lived in Russia, in Ukraine rather, and that knows Anton. He told my brother Shelley, I know Anton. Shelley calls me, tells me, hey, Anton is alive. He tells me. I said, this is great, but how do you know he's just trying to get some money? How do you know for sure that he's alive? So we talked and we decided that let this man go down to see Anton again, take a picture of both of them, send us a picture, and see that Anton is alive. Sure enough, a few months later, the picture came out with Anton and this fellow. It took us a few weeks to get our visa. At that time it was strict to get there. we went to see Anton.
He was happy to see you.
Oh, the whole town came out. We had radio, television. The whole town came to see him. All the regions, different regions come. There was a few thousand people came out outside. And Anton
Did Anton ever come to the United States?
wanted to see the Holy Spirit, holy sites. Via Dolorosa
So in Israel.
in Israel.
So you
We
went.
took him to Israel.
Mhm.
We honored him in Israel.
What was
He was honored
at Yad Vashem?
at Yad Vashem, and he was honored right next to Schindler.
Now,
Well-
when did Anton die?
Anton wanted to die where he lived. He said every dog has his own house, his own place. That's what he wanted to be.
And when did he die? Do you remember?
Died.
Oh,
Oh, silly.
let me ask you something else then. Anton never married, did he?
No. Funnier than that.
We can come back to that.
He died sometimes in November.
But he never married.
Never married. No.
But he asked you to remember him?
Pardon?
He asked you to remember him.
Yeah, before he died. He said we came to see him. He was sick. He was very, he couldn't move. He was, so he said to me, Michael, he said, you and Shelley, you are my family. I have nobody. Please, don't forget me when I'm gone. I had tears in my eyes. I gave him a big hug, and I said, I'll never forget you. You will always be remembered by all of us.
Now, I know you and your wife have 9 beautiful grandchildren, but one grandson has a special name. What is that name? Your one grandson, what is his name?
No. Yes. Chet.
No. Anton is his,
Can come in?
Anton is
Anton.
named after Anton.
Anton.
Want to take it?
What did happen? After Anton passed on, we named him Anton. My son his son was born 12 years old. We named him Anton.
After him. What a wonderful testament.
To what?
That's so wonderful. When did you start telling your story to people?
The first few years, I didn't want to talk about it. I was free. I wanted to forget it. But as time goes on, and you meet some people.
And I know you've spoken in schools, right? You've spoken to groups of kids, young kids.
Yes, I did. My last speech was in the Robert Treat Hotel. At kids from
At the
all,
Robert
every school, They have 1,200 kids. within the mountain.
What is the thing you want them to remember most?
Well, one thing I remember, I stopped eating meat since Anton didn't eat meat, and he almost forced me not to eat the meat. And I told him I'm not going to eat it. It's 25 years, maybe more than that.
You still don't eat meat.
I had not eaten meat.
What do you want students to remember about your story? Do you have a message that you want them to remember?
To remember the willing to save people. And that was the type of person that he loved animals.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything else you want to tell us about?
Ask a question.
What happened to the two girls who were hiding with you? You said one went to Uruguay, one went to Israel. Did you stay in touch with their families?
Yes. We stay in touch with the one who went to Uruguay. They stayed in Uruguay a very short time, and they moved to Israel. And they are in Israel, and we're constantly in touch with them. As a matter of fact, their son, who's an attorney, he's part of the film that they have, that we're going to have.
Amazing.
He was part, his mother.
It's been my privilege to hear your story, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see if Chet. This is Michael's son, Chet, and we'd like to ask him what he'd like to share about his father or his father's story.
Thank you, and thank you for this interview. It means a lot to my father and people of this generation. So I had, from when I was very young, I would hear stories that my father was a little different than the other kids' fathers, that he was born in another country, which some of them were, but that he experienced this tragedy. So as I learned more and more about the war and what it was about, I learned more and more about this man who saved us. And we always referred to him as Antosha, which is like Tony to Anthony, so Antosha to Anton. So we learned he was, I always learned he was a very special guy, and maybe more than a fool. The word probably similar in Russian is chudak, which is like an eccentric. So I think he was so eccentric, at some point he became like the village fool, but he's more like the village oddball. And I also learned that he meditated. He used to stare at a felt like a bullseye, like a black on top of a white on the wall for hours. And he would have these trances. And I remember my father, and I would talk with my grandmother about this as well, many times. And then when I met and I had the opportunity to meet Antosha, he told me that the angel Gabriel came to him in a vision and told him that the Germans would be coming. It was going to be a terrible time for the Jews. They would kill the Jews. And that one of his tasks would be to help the Ziegler family, because they were kind to him. So when he did have the opportunity, when my family, through my grandmother's dream and through circumstance, arrived at his house, he was so happy because he had a chance to fulfill a mission that was given to him. He was he's a unique man. He was very spiritual. Materialism had no effect on him. He lived here for about a year in my uncle's house in Moorestown in South Jersey, and here and just was not affected by any materialism. All he cared about was good people and doing the right thing. A couple of other things. My father also had a dream shortly, a few days before they were liberated, and it's something I remember him telling me over the years, that he was climbing a cherry tree. So cherries are a popular fruit. They're sweet and sour cherries and other fruit trees. But he was climbing a cherry tree, and he was dropping cherries to his friends and his family. And cherries are a universal symbol of happiness, joy, abundance. And shortly after, within the next few days, they were liberated, which he related to you. I think Antosha was a unique person. He cared about everybody. He cared more about God and the spiritual side of it than the religion. He was some cross between Catholic and Eastern Orthodox, Ukrainian Orthodox, but he really saw holiness in everything. And I think what my father and my parents have taught me over the years is that this was a tragedy. It was a horrible thing. It was unique because one group of people tried to wipe out even the knowledge of the existence of another group of people. But there's terrible things that happen all over the world, including today. And we as Jews and as survivors and children and grandchildren of survivors need to be cognizant of that and be like Antosha and be like Anton and make a better world. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, tell us about this picture.
This is where, in Jerusalem, where Anton came to visit us, and he wanted to see the holy sites, the Via Dolorosa. Next day, he was supposed to go over there. And as I said earlier, we gave him a big party, big welcome party. I think not the president, the vice president of Israel delivered his speech. He had some government people, had a lot of people, and Anton was the hero.
Thank you. Can you tell us about this map?
Certainly. So the outlined area in the black, thick outline to the right is Ukraine, where you see it's in a little rectangle. The highlighted area closest to the border, on the left side of the border, is Poland. And the highlighted town is Lviv, which is the name in Ukrainian for Lvov, which is a major city. And in Western Ukraine, it was Eastern Poland when my father was born. It's the name of a city and also of an oblast or a province. The yellow highlighting to the right of there is Ternopil, or it was called Tarnopol in Polish and German. My father lived in Ternopil Oblast, or the Ternopil province, but close to the border with the Lviv province, and that's where Zborov was located. So about almost halfway in between Ternopil and Lviv.
Thank you. Could you tell us about this map?
Yes, this is a blown up or zoomed in version of what we just looked at. So you see Lviv Oblast or Lviv province, and all the way to the right, you'll see the highlighted area of Zborov. And you'll see right to the left of that highlighted area is the border of Lviv province. And it's, again, Zborov was part of the Ternopil province, but it was very close to the Lviv province border.
Thank you, and this is the end of the interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're back. This is an addendum story. Why don't you tell us about the story we were just discussing during the break?
Sure. So, Dad, I always remember the stories you told my sisters and me growing up that you were a singer. So I think you said it started when you were in college and you were friends with some interesting people. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was studying with Al Greiner, who was my coach, and I I was given a assignment to sing on New Year's Eve by a Chinese restaurant. It's coming back now. Chinese restaurant, because Bobby Darin didn't want wild dairy. They wanted me. So that was very encouraging. But what happened is I had to work, and I was drafted right after. I was drafted to the Navy, and that's where I got all my experience. I was in the Navy with the choir. They sang in the choir. I had some solos. You're talking about many years ago.
So maybe I could help you with some questions. You had somebody famous in your fraternity when you were in Uppsala.
Yeah.
How does that relate to the story?
Don Kirshner was a friend of mine. And when I rushed him for the fraternity. And he told me, says, don't let me do this. And I didn't. I want him to do exactly what I had to do. So
We don't want to be we don't want to give away any fraternal secrets here.
Right. So we had a lot of fun. He and I, we had a lot of fun.
And later he went on to produce did he drop out of school or he graduated and then he went on to be the famous producer, right? But how did he get his start?
Split Splash. That was the song. That's his first song.
And who performed that?
Before that,
No, who performed that? Who sang that?
Don Kirshner. He wrote a song.
And Bobby Darin performed it, I believe, right?
Was Bobby Darin? Yeah.
And then Bobby Darin and
Bobby Darin. That was the restaurant, the Chinese restaurant. It's confusing.
And then you also they were also students of Al Greiner's as well, right? And he had a lot of the who's who of Broadway at that time and for years later. And I think who else were some of his famous students that you also ran into?
Some names I don't remember.
Connie Francis, I believe you told me.
Connie Francis, yeah.
Connie Francis and Bobby Darin were the names I remember.
Yeah.
And then you also worked upstate New York in the Borscht Belt. You had a few gigs there.
I worked there.
Did you sing at the Concord?
Yes. But not the main show. They wouldn't let me sing it.
What kind of songs did you sing? Do you remember?
Just pop music.
Pop song.
It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, funny thing because that's how I married Rochelle, because I was singing and my girlfriend, I was engaged to her. And she loved this singing, but her parents didn't want me because I'm singing. So there was a lot of crying and all that. I said, enough is enough. And that's how I met Rochelle,
Where did you meet Rochelle?
the Concord.
At the Concord? And how long before you were married? After you met her, how long was it before you got married?
6 months. She was for 4 months? Huh?
4.
I don't know.
4 months. And how many years have you been married? If you get this wrong, you're in trouble.
62.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. So you're a singer, huh?
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the interview.
Okay, thank you
Thank you.
guys.
That was great. That was great.